So given it's only it's air only, as you point out there, would there be a desire at all or a need to have boots on the ground, whether it's American boots or whether it's Israeli boots?
Well, I think no and no, right? I would not, both countries, I think, would take a hard pass on that.
Right.
I just don't, politically in both cases, and in the case for Israel, that's a stretch. They're a great home team army.
Yeah.
They are not an away game army like the United States might be.
Understood. So what have you made of Iran's response so far? I mean, it's obviously still got a fair bit in its possession.
That's right. So look, we're pretty excited when our offensive stuff is 90% gets through, right? But
Right.
when your defense is 90% effective, you're not so excited because that means 10% hit. And you're seeing some civilian infrastructure hit. There's reports of U.S. soldiers being killed, Israeli civilians being killed. So this isn't good, right? You really have to reduce Iran's ability to do that. So they're being slightly effective there. The other area I keep an eye on is the Straits of Hormuz. It's kind of a, cutting off their nose to spite their face because the country most reliant on fossil fuel flow through the Straits is Iran. But if they cut it off, they hurt the world, and they hurt Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, and Kuwait and Qatar, and Bahrain as well. So they may cut it off. They can do it with mines, and they can do it with missiles and drones. I think we've seen reports of some drone strikes that have not sunk ships, but have damaged them. We'll have to see if they press that as a regime objective.
Well, just further to that, I'm glad you brought it up because Iran's foreign minister or its spokesperson has spoken to Al Jazeera this morning to say that the Strait of Hormuz is staying open. So are you pleased by that? I mean, does that surprise you, or do you think it might eventually be closed?
I think it is open. I mean, it's open, and from what I understand, the insurance companies are telling the ships stay inside or outside, right? Don't try to go through. So, look, I think they understand the existential nature of the straits closing to their own economy, but you can't stop some troops from launching. And also, the two ships that were hit may have been debris. There's a lot of excuses for it other than they weren't hit with like cruise missiles because they would have sunk, but they were hit with something light or hit with debris. My point on this is it won't take much for the Joint War Council, which is an insurance adjusting group, to list the Straits of Hormuz, and then there'll be no flow through there.
Okay, yeah, well, that'll obviously affect prices too. We'll get to that a little bit later on. But Mark, you and I, we've spoken about China a number of times in the past. What do you think Xi Jinping is thinking right now? Does he make a move on Taiwan while the world is watching the Middle East?
And the short answer on Taiwan is no. The larger answer is his credibility as a partner. I mean, he stood by during the 12-day war and did nothing for Israel. I think we're about to watch him stand by again. If getting Venezuelan oil cut off was a minor perturbation for China. Getting Iranian oil cut off, that's the vast majority of Iranian shipments are going to China. If that were to happen, that's a significant issue for China. So I think right now he's more in a observe what's going on and try to figure out how to keep that flow going. I suspect they would have transmitted to Iran, to the foreign ministry, please say the straits are open, right? To try to keep that flow going. And at some future date, we'll provide some logistics assistance to you. Okay. But I think right now, attack on Taiwan would be, I don't think they're ready for that in so many ways, not least of which he's decapitated his own military over the last 3 months in a way that might make it a little hard.